dey wait for that day to come. I dey wait for that day. Come like the day too far. After them now. After them now. On our own, who we are, mother. Mr. John.
Okay, so
Okay, so since we are seeing the screen, so I'll just be working from here directly so that we can save our time. So let's write. We are looking at my SQL aggregate functions. My SQL aggregate functions. Please let's write so that we can finish our time. My SQL aggregate function. Now, if you remember very well, we in Excel or even in Python, we treated analysis with what? Aggregate what? Functions. Can anybody mention any one of them so that you know the set of functions we want to focus on now? Can you mention one of data analysis aggregate function? But this function cut across almost all the programs. In Excel we have them. In Python we have them. In SQL, that is the sum. But we have done okay, we use yes, we have sum, we have count, we have minimum. These are majorly statistical what? Functions, right? Okay, let's write. These are functions mainly used for data summarization. So the major focus of this set of functions are for what? Summarizing what? Data. These are functions mainly used for data summarization. Mainly used for data what? Summarization. And like I advise you in Python, these are very important functions you must know. Because if you are going to specialize or probably analyze business data for business decision making, you are going to use more of this aggregate function. Because if you have a column, for example, you have a column, hope you are with me, you have a column that probably track or record your profits. At some point you may want to know the total profits, right? That means you are going to use what? Sum. At some point you want to know the highest profit generated from what? Each product. So we cannot actually do away with this set of functions. So now we want to consider them again in SQL. That same thing we did in Python and in Excel.
so let's look at the example of this.
Let's quickly list them first before we start relating them one after the other. Number one, count all function. Count all. Yes, we have count all. Count all. Count all. Count all. Now, the way you write it is you open a bracket, write count, then in the bracket use asterisk. I have mentioned in SQL what that asterisk represents before now, right? It means that what we're doing, select all. So if I am given a data set before I proceed with my analysis and I am asked to do a kind of counting the total number of what? Records, right? In that data set, I can use what? This count all aggregate function. Then two,
count from a specific column.
I will now give you the syntax.
Count from a specific column.
Count from a specific column.
Count from a specific column.
Let me use this interface so that you can see what we are talking about.
So count from a specific column is just like this. So example, count. Then when you open the bracket, then you quote the words, the column. You quote the column name. So I'll give you an instance where you can use this. You know the other one, I just put what? Asterisk there. This one, I am focusing on the particular word, column. Then we have minimum function, minimum. We are just listing them before we
Look at them one after the other.
minimum.
Minimum.
Minimum. Are you with me? Minimum. Now, we all know the kind of analysis you can perform with what? Minimum, right? If, for example, now you want to analyze the minimum what? Value in a column, you can use what? Minimum to achieve that. Then the next one is maximum. Please keep listing them, please.
I want us to list all of them.
So we take some today.
Anyone we could not touch, we continue from there in our next class.
Minimum, maximum, average. So there are also analysis questions that will involve us using what? Average. Then, I don't know if I mentioned sum before. Sum. Okay, so add that. So I will start with the first one, which is what? The count all. So right, application of count all function in SQL. Application of count all. Application of what? Count all function in what? In SQL. In SQL. So here, like I told you, we have to cite our question. So let me call the data so that from the data we will know the question we can answer with what? Count what? All.
Because that is the primary target.
So let me call the data. Then I want somebody to help me to construct the query statement to call the entire data or the entire record in the table. Select what again? Select what? Are we calling only some record or we are calling all? Good. Asterisk. Then use the keyword what? From what? From the data name is what? NIT. So the moment I click and then it brings it out. So of course I will execute it. Okay, so this is the data. So let's study this data for a moment and find out the question we can answer with what? Count all. I have my question here, but I want to know whether
You can give me one.
which question from this data, this is the data we are all familiar with, we can actually answer with what? Count all. Any question? Okay, so let's write down the question. You don't have this data. Okay, so you can be using another one. Maybe you can just be
Manufacturing your own question in alignment with what we are treating right now.
okay. Now write down the question. The question I want to answer here. How many records are in the payroll? Let's assume we are asked this question from this data. How many records are what? In the what? The payroll. How many what? Records are in the payroll. How many records are what? In the payroll. If you care to find out, now let's write an SQL what? Query what? Statement that will give us that answer. Now, of course, so just be listening to what I'm saying until the screen comes up. Okay, so to write SQL query statement to implement that question is You write select. So you can be writing it in your notes, not implement first.
Your notes.
Select, be writing what I've said now. Select, then you space. You type count as a function. You type count as a function. Okay, the screen is up now. Count as a function. Then you do what? You open the bracket and put the asterisk inside the bracket. Then close the bracket. Close the bracket. And then from which table? So we have to reference the table. From the table name, which is what? NIT project. So this is what? The query what? Statement. For us to count, to find out how many records are in that data set. Have you written it? You are not supposed to be working at the same time. I will give you time to practice. Focus on writing and studying the syntax for now. So now look up, let me execute. The result we have here is what? 150. 150. So copy your syntax. Now, you can see that this particular results that are outputted, I did not output it with any form of description. How will the person know? Is pay attention. How will the person know? So I will just take only 2 and stop there today. How will the person know the value you are displaying? Is it not better if we have added, or let's say we add the total numbers of what employees is or are, followed by the words? That 150. So how do you add that statement? So let me edit the what? The code. Let me edit the code and re-execute it to accommodate that. So if I am going to do that, remember what I told you about what? SQL was commenting. How do you comment in SQL? Eh? You have forgotten. That's what I just did now. And then you space. I have just converted it to what? Comments now. Because I want to write another one that will accommodate what? A kind of description of the result I'm going to get. So, and what I want, that same code I'm writing now. So I will say select, pay attention once I'm done writing it, you copy it first.
I will give us time to execute it before I take the next one.
Space, count. Count. What was the syntax? Asterisk inside, right? Close the brackets. Then after the bracket, before you say from, you bring as. This as you are describing, as in the heading, the description you are adding to the output, as, and that description is a string, is a text. So for that reason, I am going to what? Put it inside what? Quotation. Either the special what? Inverted quotation or this normal one. As okay, the result you are going to output displays as total what? Displays as total number of employee. Then after this, you are not putting this semicolon because you have not ended the code. Then I can go to what? To the next line, or remember, this shouldn't have been introduced. I can just go down. Remember I told you, if you like, you write everything on what? The same line, or you break it. Because if I go on now, I may not be seeing part of the code. So I will now use what? From what? From the data set what? Name. And then before I end my code, then let me execute now. You see the result you're going to generate. Can you see it now? Is it not more presentable than the first one? That one just display what? Count 150. So copy the other one without what anyone. The other one is what? Without what? Result description. You did not describe the results. The other one. Then this one with what? Result what? Description. You copy this one. So I will do for 2 different functions, then I will allow us to go through there before I continue. Okay, so let me do one more. Now we want to do conditional counting. Look up. We are still in counting now. That count that you did is not no condition. You counted what? All. Now let's assume that you want to base the counting based on maybe only staff from where? From Edo State. That is what? Conditional what? Counting. So right. Conditional counting using where clause. Conditional counting using where clause. You know, we use this where clause when we're doing the, filtering, right? Good. So right, the question we are asking here is count total record from, or count total employee. Let me convert it to suit the data we are working with. Count total employees from, count total what? Employees from Edo State. So we want to know how many employees are from what? Edo State. So let's write the query statement for that. So what will I do now? You see, I just give you a scope now. Do you see what I just discovered now? You know, since we are not able to have more than one live code, what am I using to display even the ones I have run before? I'm converted to what? Comments. So I'll say, so at any point I can remove the comment and execute them. So now let me make the comments again. 1, 2, and then what? Space. Then 1, 2, and then space. So with this, I still have my code active. So I can come back by removing this and re-execute them. So those that are going to depend with SQL, cram these techniques now, because here you have an advantage of visualizing. You have graph here, do one plus graph. Workbench does not plus graph. That means you are going to use maybe Excel or Power BI to do your graphing, and then maybe your PowerPoint presentation, you now highlight it. But to make it look more interesting, that same thing now you can do the live graphing here for us, and we'll just see it. Okay, now let's write the code. What we say what question are we answering now? Okay, so let's look at the what? The query statements. Select, pay attention, please. So after this, I will now allow you to what? To execute all the ones I've done. Check them. If there's still time, we proceed. If there's no time, we go and master this first. So select counts. Select counts. Then asterisk inside counts as select count as total what? Employee From what? From Edo. From Edo. Are you with me? From Edo, then remember, I go to the next line. From, pay attention. I say you should not work for now. Pay attention. From the table name. I'm still writing where. See the difference now. Where the column name where you have Edo is what? State, right? Where state, I guess it should be in capital letter all true, right?
Yes.
Where state is equals to Edo is a string. So I should do what? Quote it. Where state is equals to Edo should be in capital letter also, right? Then before I end my code. Then if I want to now go multiple, what will I do? And that same logic that we were using there. Now I execute. There are what? 7 only. So write the code and then execute for me. Use comment to leave your previous code for me. I will come and check it. So write before I exit. Have you finished writing? Okay, so we are implement for me. I'm coming there to
The disobedient students. Yes.
No, I didn't.
disobedient students in this class.
No, I
Real
just,
life success and when I give instruction, they follow.
no, I just copied.
Just copy.
Just copied.
Okay. Okay, you were writing on yourself before.